All right, so I'll call to order the February meeting of the Bloomington Board of Parks Commissioners. And Kim, could you start us with the roll call, please?
Yes. Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
And Jim Whitlatch.
Here.
Okay, thank you. So then in section A, the consent calendar, we have the minutes from our last meeting, claims submitted, non-reverting budget amendments, credit card refunds, little bit of surplus, and then we have some smaller or recurring contracts that we've seen, or templates that we've seen plenty of times before. So we're gonna call for a motion on items A1 through 12, and then A14, but not A13. I hope that's clear. So
Move to approve A1 through 12 and A14, taking out for the moment A13.
Okay.
I can second that.
All right, great. And roll call vote.
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion unanimously carried. Thank you. And then we'll A13, the 2022 partnership agreement with the Writer Magazine and Film Series. So we have a motion on that one. We'll just vote on that separately.
Move to approve A13 as a separate matter on the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please, Kim.
Kathleen Mills.
Abstain.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 3 votes. All right, and then on to our section B, public hearings and appearances. And just for the logistical matter, if there is anyone in the meeting who would like to make a public comment, we have a section for public comment at the very end in section E. So in B, public hearings and appearances, we'll hear from Julie Ramey to tell us about a Bug Fest event coordinator. Leah Woodard.
Yes, thank you. My name is Julie Ramey. I am the Community Relations Manager for the Parks and Recreation Department, and it is my privilege to present our Bravo Award this month to Leah Woodard. Now, when I asked staff for nominations for a Bravo Award this month, we try to award the Bravo Award to an outstanding volunteer every month of the year, and Leah's name was right at the top. And even when I read all of the things that Leah has done to ensure the success of the Bug Fest event, it's pretty amazing. So it's my privilege to tell you a little bit more today about Leah and her work with Bug Fest. So Leah served as the committee chair for Bug Fest in 2021. The Bug Fest is held annually, and it's a partnership, lots of collaboration through Monroe County Parks and Recreation, Wonder Lab, Science Museum, Purdue Extension, Monroe County, Hilltop Gardens at Indiana University, and of course, Bloomington Parks and Recreation. So Leah has been a part of the Bug Fest Planning Committee since the event began in 2013. So that's several years of involvement with Bug Fest. Now, as a manager of Hilltop Garden and Nature Center, Leah coordinated many events and programs at the facility over the 8.5 years she was there. Now, when Leah's daughter was born, she stepped down from her position, and that was the fall of 2019, to enjoy the role of stay-at-home mom. In January of 2020, 2 of the main coordinators of Bug Fest retired, leaving what Leah saw as a gap in leadership for the Bug Fest event. So being dedicated and looking at the remainder of the committee members who were very enthusiastic, but lacking the historical knowledge that Leah had of the event. Leah stepped up as a volunteer. Again, she's left Hilltop Gardens. She's a stay-at-home mom, and now she's volunteering to run Bugfest for 2020. Now, we all know what happened in 2020. The event was canceled after 3 months of planning due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Leah didn't let that stop her. She continued in her role as chair for 2021, completely blindsided, as were many of us, by the challenges of trying to plan a big hands-on event during a pandemic. Not only that, but she was pregnant and awaiting the birth of her son in June of last year. So she still led the monthly planning for the event, provided direction and tasks for all the committee members, organized the attendance of 20 exhibitors. And again, this is all with health and safety in mind, keeping everyone safe and distanced at the very popular Bugfest event. When it was all said and done, with the help of 6 other committee members, Bugfest was successfully held in 2021 for more than 600 attendees. So Leah was just happy to be able to offer a safe and fun Bugfest event, many of them children eager to learn more about bugs. And I believe Leah is on the meeting today, and I did let her know that she has the ability, or will have, to unmute herself and say a few words to the park board.
Thank you. Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the acknowledgement and recognition for my work for Bugfest. It was definitely more of a challenge than I originally had signed up for pre-pandemic, but all the committee members provided a lot of guidance, support, and really most of the work to make the event success. As Julie mentioned, the event is a collaboration of Kaylee Shear from Hilltop Gardens, Amy Thompson from Purdue Extension, Monroe County, Autumn Brunel and John Robertson from Monroe County Parks and Rec, Sam Couch from Wonder Lab, and Steve Cotter and Rebecca Swift from the City Parks and Rec. And I would really like to recognize and thank all of them for their work that they did, especially Rebecca and Sarah Owen. They did a lot of work to manage the pre-registration process for attendees and recruiting and managing all the volunteers it takes to put on the event. We couldn't have such a well-organized event without the resources available from Bloomington Parks and Recreation. So I also want to thank all the board members here and Paula for sharing your resources and creating partnerships with local agencies to provide so many events like Bugfest for the community. So I want to thank you. And one last thing I'll say about volunteering. And I also volunteer through the Monroe County Master Gardener Association with Fairview Elementary School Garden, is that it really provides me the opportunity to stay connected with the community, providing me with a sense of purpose and socialization that can sometimes be lacking when staying at home with 2 small children. So volunteering lets me get, to enjoy the best of both worlds. So I appreciate the recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Leah. And that's just incredible, especially, given that the birth of your son and then the pandemic, and then to have 600 attendees and for you to step into that is really just amazing. So thank you very much on behalf of the Parks Board. All right, and next, I think we will move into section C is our other business. And first up, Becky Higgins will tell us about the partnership agreement with Area 10 Agency on Aging for the Enright East Active Living Community Center at the mall.
Hi, everyone. Becky Higgins, Recreation Services Division Director. Happy to be here this afternoon. I would like to recommend approval of the grant partnership agreement with Area 10 on Aging. This is for funding. And the funding source is through the Parks General Fund Administration account, and it is not to exceed the amount of $20,000. So due to popularity and community support and senior participation, the department would like to support Area 10 Enright East Active Living Community Center in 2022 through a $20,000 grant. And this would be the 3rd year that this would be in place. We have had 2 successful years with this. The funding is for operations and is provided through Parks Administration General Fund budget, as I said. And I included a table from 2021 just to show you attendance, even during the times when you see a couple asterisks by the month. That was a hybrid approach. So through the month of 2021, they were somewhat open and then closed down and did a lot virtually and then opened back up in a hybrid way. And at the end of the year, well, I guess I would say in January 2021, the daily usage for the month was about 816 seniors with a cumulative membership of 512. And at the end of the year, the cumulative membership went up to 600. And we had a monthly visitation that month of 697. So it's still a very popular place with our senior population, and it's a great partnership with Area 10 on Aging. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Yeah, I don't have any questions. I mean, it's been very successful, and I'm sure it was a kind of a lifeline for some people during the pandemic too, to still be able to connect. So, yeah. Okay, any questions for Becky? Otherwise, we can take a motion for this one.
No question. Oh, go ahead. Oh, Jim.
No, go ahead. I'm ready to go ahead and move for approval.
Yeah, I can second that. Thanks, Becky.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please, Kim?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, motion unanimously carried. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
And next up was a contract with Ecologic for vegetation management at Switchyard Park.
Hi, this is Joanna. I'm sorry, my camera is not coming on for some reason, but can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Joanna Sparks, there I am, city landscaper, here to present a contract with Ecologic for vegetation management at the Switchyard Park this year. This contract is for management of over 19.7 acres of reforestation, mostly in riparian zones. It includes maintenance of native plants and trees that have been installed during the construction process, as well as extensive ongoing invasive plant management. This will be the 5th year that of consistent management at the Switchyard. So we're seeing some really wonderful improvements, and the native plantings are really starting to take hold, and we're eager to, I am especially eager to see how a lot of the forbs, the flowers and the native grasses do this year. They should be big enough that we ought to have a really nice show in some of those more open areas, hopefully around the wetland basin. So this contract is not to exceed the amount of $32,650, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Yeah,
I
go
just-
ahead.
I just got a quick question. It seems like we've approved Ecologic this same kind of contract, but was that for another park in prior months?
Yes, last month I recommended for approval a contract with Ecologic to implement year 4 of a 10-year vegetation management plan at Miller Showers Park. So yes, we have been working with them for several years at Miller Showers Park as well.
So they do work at both Miller Showers and now they're doing work at Switchyard. Are they working anywhere else, Griffey or anywhere else?
In the past, they have done vegetation management for us at Griffey, also Park Ridge East, and trying to think of, I'm missing a property, I know, but yes, they have done invasive management for us at several properties. They've also worked with the natural resources staff on deer management studies and floral inventories. Steve and Rebecca could speak to you more in depth about that.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, and Joanna, I was just wondering, just an overall question about, I guess, is invasive species management, is it kind of like tree trimming? Is it ongoing forever? Or do you see a point in Switchyard, for instance, when things will be sort of tamped down sufficiently and won't have to keep managing invasive species?
Oh, well, in a an utopian society, yes, we would never have to manage invasive species. We would come in a couple times and that would be it. But unfortunately, just the magnitude of the presence of invasive plant species throughout our community, the seed bank keeps being replenished. So to say, the birds coming to utilize the wonderful habitat at Switchard bring along unwanted non-native seeds. So we do hope that within a few years that we should be able to manage it in-house, but with the construction and all the disruption, lots and lots of seeds have been allowed to have been disturbed, thus they're germinating. And so we seem to, as part of the construction process, we hit sort of a critical mass level of seed germination of invasives. So it is highly likely that year 3 to 5 in management, the invasive numbers start to go down. We are thankfully shifting the focus, not so much from woody invasives like Asian bush honeysuckle and tree of heaven into more annual and biennial and perennial forbs and grasses. Japanese silkgrass is a big one. That's sort of an ongoing thing. There's some non-native invasive seeds can last in the soil for decades. So it will constantly be monitoring, but the goal is that our management time is dramatically reduced.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah, I'm sorry to put you on the spot there, predicting the future of invasive species.
It's nice to dream.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Joanna? Otherwise, we can have a motion for this one.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, motion is unanimously carried. And then Joanna will stay with us to tell us some more about an agreement with Centerstone for some maintenance and landscaping at various parks properties.
Yes, Joanna Sparks, City Landscaper here once again. And also, I want to say that Sean Marler, Switchard Park General Manager, is also present to answer any questions about the Switchard Park aspect of this partnership. The Parks and Recreation Department first entered into a partnership agreement with Centerstone of Indiana in 2017. And that just began with a parks maintenance crew who came for a few hours each day and picked up trash and cleaned off sidewalks and just basically helped us keep the parks, 4 parks clean. And it was a smashing success. So in 2018, we expanded it a little bit. We added a landscaping team and it continued to thrive. And over the years, we have added a landscape maintenance crew for the golf course. It spends a few hours a week there. And last year, 2021, the Switchard Park was able to add a crew helping them there. So we would like to continue our partnership with them in 2022 for all of those areas I mentioned, and for an amount not to exceed $137,394.88 to be exact. And this will allow for multiple staff with a supervisor for each crew. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about it. There's tons of details I could share. Just not sure what you're interested in.
Okay. I guess just one thing, if you could remind me that the supervisors of the crew, are they're parks employees or they're Centerstone employees or?
Yes, the crew supervisors are supplied by Centerstone. They are Centerstone staff, and their role is to work with the crew, but also to be the point person for the Centerstone staff, because technically they are contractual employees. So that's their job manager.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions for Joanna?
How is the information from what the parks needs done communicated to Centerstone? And you mentioned that you were very happy with the services. Does that include and mean that the quality of the work is very good, or can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Well, I can speak most directly from my experience being the direct liaison for the landscaping crews. The crews reported, I'll give you in 2021, this was the scenario. They reported directly to the Switchyard Park each day. They work 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they work the same shift as the landscaping crew there. So basically they report at the same time and they get there with their supervisor, and they get their job assignment along with the landscaping crew for the day, and they all work together. Parks staff are with them in the landscaping maintenance at all times to answer any questions and give direction for each area, such as the operations group that does park maintenance. Their staff point person is Dave Fox, who's our custodial working for person. And for the golf area, Aaron Craig is the point person. And then for Switchyard Park, Sean Marler is the point person. So the supervisors have communication with each of them respectively for their directive for the day.
I was
Okay.
just
Yeah, go
curious.
ahead, Ellen.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I was just curious, Joanna, about how many staff do they hire? Like how many participants participate in the program and are hired by Centerstone?
Well, I can't give you an exact number, but I can say that for example, the landscaping area has funding this year to have a supervisor and 3 staff for three days a week. So what has been the rather consistent pattern is that there's different people coming on different days. I think that there's some Centerstone to try working on different crews so that people can get for the group that best suits them, if they wanted to be on park maintenance or the Switchyard Park crew or work at the golf course. I think there is some rotation with that, but basically, I mean, we interface with numerous Centerstone workers over the course of the season, but as a rule, I mean, there's 4 of them at a time working with us each day. And that's basically the case. The golf course has a much smaller crew. There's just 2 this year, and they work 2 4-hour shifts per week.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for Joanna?
Move to approve?
A second.
All right. And a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right. Motion unanimously carried. Thank you, Joanna.
Well, thank you very much for your support.
And next in item C4, John Turnbull will tell us about a service agreement with Price Electric.
Hello, everyone. John Turnbull, Division Director of Sports. I assume you can hear me okay? Great. This is a standard service agreement. The only thing that's not standard about it is it's above the threshold of the 5,000 that would apply to a consent calendar. This is a 10,000 threshold. We don't use Price Electric exclusively, but we use them a lot, and that's why it's of that threshold. There are other competing electricians that we use that do a fine job. But as you know, service agreements are for emergency or quick turnaround jobs. with a defined hourly rate. So we seek your approval and appreciate your time to consider Price Electric for this service agreement.
Okay. All right, thanks. This is pretty straightforward. Any questions, or otherwise we can go to a motion?
Move to approve?
Second,
All right, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And then Tim Street has a couple of items up next, starting with C5 is a contract addendum with E and B paving for the Griffey Lake Loop Trail.
Good evening, Park Commissioners. This is Tim Street, Operations and Development Division Director with Parks. Yes, before you, we have a contract addendum with E&B Paving for the Griffey Loop Trail and Accessible Fishing Pier contract. This addendum is to cover items contained in Change Order 1. The amount is $105,343.60. And this is being funded out of the same Bicentennial Bond project fund that funded the project in the first place. This addendum with the change order includes a few safety improvements that we're looking at. We're extending some railings a bit farther to cover some drop-offs. We're changing the top rail block to have basically a 4-inch curb to continue safety throughout the length of the causeway. I'm going to go ahead and put a picture up too, because I have one. Just kind of have a visual while I'm talking. This is the current progress out there, as well as a couple changes with relocating a couple trees that need relocated and some redundant erosion control measures that were required. So happy to answer any questions about the project or this addendum.
Okay, all right, so these are just things that came up as the project was already underway. So, okay.
Yes, that's correct. And we knew we'd have some changes and things like that when we went in, and this money was in the fund for contingency purposes, just like this.
Okay. All right, great. Any questions for Tim about this?
So we are talking about the relocation of two trees, correct?
That's correct. There's a new drainage swale that's going in near the boathouse. And there were 2 trees planted a few years ago that are small enough that we can just relocate them slightly out of the way of that drainage swale, so we preserve the trees and the tree growth.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, we can take a motion for this one.
Move to approve?
Second,
And a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion unanimously carried. And then Tim will stay with us to tell us about another contract addendum with Aztec Engineering Group.
That's right. So in 2020, the Board of Park Commissioners approved an agreement with Aztec Engineering to create a potential design corridor for the Power Line Trail. The visual up shows the property and the potential corridor of that trail running west from Rogers Street, just across from Switchyard Park. In the course of the design and in the past year, as we've worked on this, there have been some obstacles that have come up and some unexpected changes. Duke has a major substation right there to the north of the trail on the east side, and they've been doing some major infrastructure work along this power line easement that we've needed to take into account, which has included some design alternatives and taking a closer look. So this contract addendum is for Aztec to deal with some of the extra challenges and investigations that are needed for this. The contract amount is $12,250, and it is funded from Bicentennial Bond Series A, which also funded the original contract.
Okay, all right, any questions for Tim on this one?
Can you just remind us, Tim, when is the they're in the design phase, and then what's that kind of the timeline overall?
we're on a pretty lengthy timeline with this one
Yeah.
because there's major transmission and distribution line replacement in this area coming off of that substation.
Okay.
That's going to go on well into 2023.
Okay.
So, you know, hoping we may get started late 2023 and at least have things obligated sometime in 2023 in hopes that we're able to build out this phase one. But still a lot of moving parts that we're trying to identify and lock down.
Yeah, that makes sense. I knew it was long, but I just couldn't remember exactly when. Thanks. I can move to approve if no one else has questions.
Okay,
I have just one question. So regarding the alternatives, the design alternatives, what can you share with us about those potential changes?
Sure. Aztec initially in 2020 and maybe early 2021 had looked at this corridor and come up with what they thought would be, you know, an acceptable route in terms of percentage grade, accessibility, all the different things we need to consider, property lines, all of that. However, it was then found out that Duke has this major infrastructure project going on and was in fact relocating some of their towers, the transmission towers, changing some guy wires, things like that required another look at the eastern end of this corridor in terms of exactly how the trail could and might move through the redesigned Duke infrastructure. So that's where the alternatives come in.
Thank
okay.
you.
Any other questions for Tim?
I'll second Ellen's motion.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion unanimously carried. And then finally, Tim has an MOU with the City of Bloomington Utilities for some operational responsibilities at Miller Showers Park.
Sure. So this agenda item does not have any monetary value attached to it. This is just a memorandum of understanding with CBU, City of Bloomington Utilities. I will mention that this MOU was just approved at their recent board meeting, I believe last week as well. So it was being presented to the boards in parallel fashion for approval. Earlier this year, CBU let us know that they were taking on a dredging project at Miller Showers. So if you're unaware, Miller Showers Park was designed to be a major stormwater infrastructure project and to have these detention ponds to hold back stormwater in major rain events. Over time, those different cells fill up with sediment, which is what they're designed to do. They catch sediment and keep it from going downstream and are in need of being dredged. So that's where we are this year. And as part of that, as we were discussing with City of Bloomington Utilities, you know, we made a determination that it would serve us both to have some clear responsibilities around who's taking care of what. And this MOU just outlines that. Basically, parks, you know, we are responsible. It is a park. We take care of the recreational amenities, the trails, the bridges, the lookout, the irrigation pump, things like that. That City of Bloomington Utilities has 100% responsibility for dredging and making sure that the cells are functional in that way, and that we would split any cost that is to the limestone walls of the different holding cells themselves, because they both serve, you know, a stormwater purpose, but also a, you know, decorative aesthetic purpose for the park. So that is the gist of what is contained in the MOU.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions about this one for Tim?
Tim, this is a question more out of curiosity than anything else, but the waterfall feature, which is the park's responsibility, how is it determined when that's used? And does that waterfall have any practical benefit, or is it mostly just an aesthetic feature?
Good question. I'm not entirely certain about when it may have been turned on or off in the past, but generally I believe it's seasonal. You know, when we're turning on our irrigation and our water for the season, that's also going to include firing up the irrigation pump there, which also powers that that waterfall feature coming off of the lookout. It does also have a practical purpose, which is to aerate and move that water in the top cell. But it is also a decorative function that comes off of that same pump as well.
Thanks.
Okay,
Move to approve.
A second.
all right, and a roll call vote.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, the motion is carried. Thank you, Tim, for all those.
Thank you very much.
And then Aaron Hatch will tell us about a contract with Davey Tree for Bicentennial Bond Tree Project.
Hello, Aaron Hatch, urban forester, and this is a continuation of a conversation we've been having about the Bicentennial Bond tree planting. This is for a contract with Davey Resource Group in order to conduct that planting. So this contract is again for planting of trees along with 2 additional site visits. One for kind of checking on survivorship and adjusting of hardware, and 1 for pruning, and for up to 304 trees. This went through an RFP process, and we had 2 bidders on this, and Davey was the winning bid. This would be for the 304 trees, a contract not to exceed $182,096, funded from the Bicentennial Bond Series C. And I believe that is about $599 and some change per tree.
Okay, all right, any questions for Aaron about this? Okay, exciting to have 300 plus trees.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
And then finally, in this portion of the meeting, just a small price adjustment to the 2022 price schedule for a Fair of the Arts, and Crystal Ritter will tell us about that.
Yeah, good afternoon. Crystal Ritter, Community Events Coordinator. I am here today to recommend the approval of a change in the range of pricing for the Affair of the Arts program that was listed in the 2022 price schedule. We would like to adjust that range to $35 per event to $60 per event. So a range of $35 to $60 per event. This is a lowering of $10 of that range. The original range that was approved was $45 to $60. At the time that the price schedule was approved, we had not concluded the 2021 season of Affair of the Arts and had not sent out our survey that we usually do for the season. And once we sent that out and got feedback from the artists who participated last year, since we're still kind of rebuilding from COVID, we felt that this new range would make it more feasible for more artists to participate in the event for 2022. So if you have any further questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay, so did anyone comment on the survey that they thought the prices were too high, or are you just trying to make sure the participation can be as high as possible?
A little of both. Our participation numbers did drop last year. In 2020, the event was canceled due to COVID-19. And then last year, our numbers were not quite what we were hoping in terms of artist participation. The location was also adjusted after consulting with the Monroe County Health Department this year. So this is a combination of getting some feedback from artists that they felt the pricing was a bit too high last year, but also recognizing that we are in a rebuilding period for Affair of the Arts. And this price we feel will help us attract a larger pool of artists.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Any other questions for Crystal?
Move to approve.
A second.
All right, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Radke,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
and Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
I saw aye there, reading the lips. Okay. All right. So motion is approved. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
And then moving into section D, Rebecca Swift will tell us about the ERAC annual report.
Hello, Rebecca Swift, Natural Resources Coordinator. I'm here to really just introduce Dan Myers, our co-chair for ERAC. Each year, a representative from the Environmental Resources Advisory Council, which again stands for ERAC, presents an annual report to summarize the different topics and initiatives discussed by the council. This council continues to meet virtually every other month. Anyone wishing to join these meetings can access the meeting details on the public calendar available on the Parks and Recreation City website. Again, joining us today is Dan Myers. So while he unmutes and gets his camera up, I did prepare some visuals today, so I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, well, thanks, Rebecca. And also, good afternoon, park commissioners. So yeah, I'm going to cover all the great work that the Environmental Resources Advisory Council has done in the past year. Yeah, to start, so we meet like every other month, and we've discussed many long-term restoration projects for Bloomington parks. Yeah, some examples are like new tree plantings and like replacements of trees, invasive plant management along public trails and riparian corridors, native plant installations in urban green spaces, and low mow practices in park spaces that minimize the use of fuel and also can increase habitat for wildlife. So yeah, ERAC members were involved with like reviewing and like being updated on all those projects. And members also reviewed plans for the prescribed burn at Griffey Lake Nature Preserve. And we also provided feedback on the invasive pest management plan. Let's see. For the Cascade Park Trail and Stream Stabilization Project, ERAC members provided feedback on the scope of the project, which included stabilizing the stream bank to reduce erosion, constructing an accessible boardwalk to the waterfall, and extending the trail. And we also weighed in on the removal of several trees along the west side of the creek. For the Griffey Lake Master Plan, like in 2020, the Parks Department worked with West Inc. to complete a bird, reptile, and amphibian inventory of Griffey Lake Nature Preserve. And in 2021, I think it was just December, West shared the reptile, amphibian, and bird inventory results with park staff, and the ERAC members are currently reviewing this report. For the Griffey Lake Nature Preserve deer management, this is a topic of conversation at many of our meetings. So the Parks Department received a grant from the DNR in 2021 to cover a portion of the cost for the Community Hunting Access Program at the Griffey Lake Nature Preserve. In total, there were 47 deer who were removed from the park over 3 weekends. And research and plant inventories that were presented to ERAC continue to show that deer management is required to allow native plants to recover in the preserve. So ERAC members, we've supported the long-term deer management at the Griffey Lake Nature Preserve, and we'll also continue to annually review the results of the chap hunt and the vegetation data. For the Griffey Loop Trail, the Griffey Loop Trail and also the accessible fishing pier proposition, those were both discussed with ERAC members throughout the year. Unfortunately, due to COVID and materials, the project scope has shifted as you all have discussed. Yeah, park staff at nearly every meeting continue to update ERAC members on the like the most recent design plans for the like for the boardwalk and the shoreline stabilization, as well as like permit requirements and the progress of the construction. For updates on trails, throughout the year, ERAC members are updated by park staff on trail development projects. So two of the main ones were the Griffey Lake Loop Trail and also the Cascades, Lower Cascades Park Trail that we just discussed. But we also discussed other aspects of trails such as boat brush stations and boot brush stations to remove invasive plants. Like the picture there, and also invasive plant management. And the trail connections and development continue to be discussed at ERAC's bi-monthly meetings. For outreach, at every ERAC meeting, so every 2 months, all of the members are updated on the Parks Department's education and outreach activities. These include, gosh, so many, like the Roving Naturalists, Nature Days, Weed Wrangles, Adopt a Stream, and the like after school nature club programs. Obviously, like in-person gathering restrictions were like somewhat lifted, and like some of these events were able to resume, like Bugfest that we discussed. And the like the Parks Department is continuing its partnership with Monroe County Identify and Reduce Invasive Species, MC Iris, and they host the first Saturday's Weed Wrangle events to educate the community on invasive plant management. These are like ERAC is always updated on the status of these events. And finally, so there's a mobile app called Outer Spatial that includes like trail maps and like more information for all of the parks. And ERAC members are pretty consistently updated on the progress of the Outer Spatial app and like new trails and functionalities that have been put into it. So we all like downloaded the app to provide feedback, and then I found I was using it to actually like find trails and parks to like go for hiking and running that I didn't know were here without the app. So that's my my report on the Environmental Resources Advisory Council.
Thank you so much, Dan, again, for being here today and time. And just if anyone, ERAC members have questions for either Dan or myself, happy to answer.
No questions, just a thank you to Dan for that detailed report. And I always kind of forget how involved ERAC is in so many different aspects of parks. So thank you. Thank you for that report, Dan.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions before we go into section E?
Thanks so much, Dan. Really appreciate hearing that comprehensive report, and all that your committee does. It's quite a lot. So thank you.
Okay. All right. And then in section E, we'll just pause here for a second and see if we have any public comment, any raised hands or Facebook or emailed comments. And if we do, we provide people with 2 minutes to make a comment to the board.
I don't have anything in my email, Kathleen.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any hands raised. So if anyone would like to make a comment, please use your icon, raised hand icon, and we'll call on you. And I still do not see anything, Kathleen.
Okay, all right, thank you, Kim. Then we will move over back to Paula, and I'm just looking at the bottom of my agenda about statement on public meetings during public health emergency, and I'm wondering if this might be our last Zoom. Maybe
Well, we all are waiting, and we will certainly let you know as soon as we know, and transition you all into council chambers if that opportunity presents itself after 2 years. And like you can meet each other, and it'll be wonderful. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on that. But you know, I marvel at every Zoom meeting how people pop up and report and questions and voting and all of that. And you've all been so patient with us through this process and this transition and that. So we will continue. And obviously we get a lot done at these meetings. So once again, thank you all for being so well prepared and all your very thoughtful questions, which are really, really useful to go through. And as you can tell, we are, you know, really gearing up for season, and projects are starting up again. I will do a shameless plug that we are hiring seasonal staff. So really looking to hire many seasonal staff in all of our areas, sports and landscaping and operations and day camps and pools and all of that. So it's pretty competitive out there. So we are just plugging that as best we can, and how, you know, getting the word out. But other than that, that is all I have. I know Kim is in touch with you regarding a work session April retreat, which we're looking forward to. But our next meeting is exactly a month from today. That's what happens in February and March. So March 22nd, we'll be gathering again. And yeah, we can only hope that we're in person, but we will certainly let you know when that becomes official.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you very much to Paula and the staff and other board members. As always, good to see everyone. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks. All right. And this
Bye-bye.
February meeting is adjourned then.